Your birth year contains a secret code about your past lives, and Carl Jung knew it. The famous Swiss psychologist discovered that the numbers of the year you came into this world are not random. They carry a frequency that reveals exactly who you were before existing in this life. Sounds crazy? Thousands of people around the world have already tested this method and were shocked by what they discovered. Have you ever wondered why you have unexplained fears? Why you master skills you never learned? Why you feel a deep nostalgia for places you've never been? The answer lies in the digits of your birth. Jung spent decades studying patterns that connect the moment we are born with memories of previous existences. In this video, I will reveal the exact method he developed and that few people know about. Prepare to discover truths about yourself that have been hidden for centuries. The code has always been there. Now you're going to decipher it. 0, the eternal wanderer. If your birth year reduces to 0, you carry the heaviest burden of all. You are the soul that never finds home. Jung identified this pattern in people who felt completely disconnected from everything around them, as if they belonged nowhere and everywhere at the same time. This isn't depression or loneliness in the ordinary sense. It's something ancient, carved into your spirit from lifetimes of searching. 0 represents the circle, the endless loop. You died before without closure, without finding what you were looking for, and that unfulfilled quest followed you here. Jung noticed that 0 souls share a peculiar trait. They feel older than their age. A child with this number often speaks with strange wisdom. An adult carries exhaustion that sleep never fixes. You've been many things in past lives, too many. A traveler who crossed deserts seeking enlightenment, a sailor who drowned far from shore, a nomad who walked until their feet bled, always believing the answer was in the next village, the next country, the next life. But it never was. Because what you're searching for isn't a place. It's a feeling of belonging you lost so long ago that you forgot what it even feels like. This explains why you can't settle, why relationships feel temporary, why jobs bore you after months, why you move cities, change careers, reinvent yourself over and over. People call you inconsistent, unreliable, afraid of commitment. But they don't understand. You're not running away from things. You're running towards something you can't name. Jung believed 0 souls made a specific mistake in their last life. They rejected their purpose because it felt too small, too ordinary. They wanted grand adventures, cosmic meaning, extraordinary destinies. So they abandoned their real mission and spent that entire existence wandering, searching for something bigger. They died unfulfilled. And the universe said, try again. Keep searching. Maybe this time you'll realize the answer was in the small things you ignored. The tragedy of 0 is that the search itself became your identity. You don't know who you are without the longing, without the restlessness. The idea of actually finding peace terrifies you, because then what? Who would you be if you stopped wandering? This fear keeps you locked in the pattern. But here's what Jung discovered. 0 is also the number of infinite potential, the empty space before creation. You carry every possibility within you because you've experienced so much across so many lives. Your curse is also your gift. Once you stop running and look inward, you'll find that everything you search for externally already exists inside you. The lesson for 0 souls is brutal but simple. Home is not a place. It never was. It's a state of being you create by finally accepting yourself completely, by honoring the wanderer instead of fighting it, by understanding that your restlessness served its purpose. It taught you about the world. Now it's time to teach yourself about you. Your birth year called you back to break the cycle. This life is your chance to find what all those other lives couldn't. Not out there, in here. The eternal wanderer must learn to wander inward. That's where the journey ends. That's where it always ended. 1. the forgotten leader. If your birth year reduces to 1, you commanded respect in a previous life and lost it all. Jung discovered that 1 souls carry a specific kind of pain, the memory of having power and watching it crumble. You weren't just a leader, you were the leader. The one people followed, trusted, believed in, until something went catastrophically wrong. 1 is the number of authority, of standing alone at the front, but it's also the number of isolation. You led, and leadership destroyed you. Maybe you made a terrible decision that cost lives. Maybe you were betrayed by those you trusted most. Maybe your empire fell, your kingdom burned, your followers scattered. However it happened, you died knowing you failed everyone who depended on you. This trauma embedded itself so deeply that it followed you here. Jung noticed that 1 souls have a strange relationship with responsibility. They're natural leaders. People instinctively look to them for guidance, ask their opinions, want them to take charge. But the moment real authority is offered, they panic. They sabotage themselves. They refuse promotions, avoid leadership roles, hide their capabilities. You do this because somewhere in your unconscious mind you remember what happened last time you led, the weight of it, the crushing responsibility, the moment it all fell apart. Your soul learned a lesson. Leadership equals catastrophic failure. So now, even though you're built to lead, you convince yourself you're better as a follower, safer, less dangerous. But the universe doesn't let you hide. Situations keep arising where you're forced into charge. A crisis at work, where you're the only one who knows what to do. A family emergency where everyone turns to you. A friend group falling apart until you step in and organize things. You can't escape it. Leadership finds you even when you run. Jung understood that 1 souls didn't fail because they were bad leaders. They failed because they carried the weight alone. They believed asking for help was weakness. They thought true leaders never showed doubt, never admitted mistakes, never shared the burden. This rigid thinking led to their downfall. They became tyrants without meaning to, or they collapsed under pressure they refused to distribute. The pattern repeats in your current life. You take on too much. You don't delegate. You believe if something needs doing right, you must do it yourself. People offer help, and you refuse it. You work yourself to exhaustion rather than admit you can't handle everything. Then you break, and you feel like a failure all over again, confirming what your soul already believed. Here's the truth Jung wanted 1 souls to understand. You weren't meant to lead alone then, and you're not meant to lead alone now. Real leadership isn't about being the strongest, the smartest, the one with all the answers. It's about bringing people together, acknowledging weakness, building something greater than yourself. Your birth year brought you back to rewrite the story, to learn that the fall wasn't about your inadequacy, it was about your isolation. This time, you're here to lead differently, to trust others, to share power instead of hoarding it, to understand that admitting you need help doesn't make you weak, it makes you wise. The forgotten leader must remember who they were, forgive what happened, and choose to lead again. Not from a throne, not from a pedestal, but from the ground, standing with people instead of above them. That's the lesson. That's why you came back. Your year chose you because the world needs leaders who learned humility through catastrophic failure. Those are the only leaders worth following. Stop hiding. The crown you're afraid of isn't the same one you lost. This time it's built on completely different foundations, and this time you won't carry it alone. By the way, if you're curious to go even deeper and integrate your shadows and light, check out the Sim Method ebook. It's a concise guide that can help you unlock your inner power in just 5 minutes a day. The link is in the first pinned comment below. 2. The divided heart. If your birth year reduces to 2, you died with your heart torn in half. Jung discovered that 2 souls carry the deepest wound of all. They loved 2 things equally and had to choose between them, and that choice destroyed them. You didn't just lose something in a past life. You lost everything because you couldn't have everything. Two is the number of duality, of opposing forces pulling you in different directions. In your previous existence, you faced an impossible decision. Maybe you loved two people and had to choose one. Maybe you were torn between duty and desire, between family and freedom, between two paths that both felt right. You made your choice, and it haunted you until your last breath. This is why you struggle with decisions now. Even small ones paralyze you. Which job to take, which city to live in, which relationship to commit to. People think you're indecisive, but that's not it. You're terrified, because deep in your soul, you remember what happened last time you chose wrong. Or maybe you chose right, but lost something precious anyway. Either way, choosing feels like death. Jung noticed that two souls often create patterns of division in their current lives. They maintain double lives without meaning to. A career they hate and a secret passion they pursue in private. A stable relationship while fantasizing about someone else. Friends in one city and a completely different personality in another. They split themselves because wholeness feels impossible. If they can't have both, they'll secretly keep both and never fully commit to either. You also attract divided people, partners who can't choose you completely, friends who disappear and reappear, jobs that promise everything but deliver half. It's like the universe keeps showing you the same pattern, forcing you to look at it, because until you heal this, you'll keep recreating it. The pain runs deeper than most people understand. Two souls don't just fear making wrong choices. They fear that choosing itself is wrong, that wanting one thing means betraying another, that love is always a betrayal of someone or something else. This belief poisons everything. You can't enjoy what you have because you're mourning what you gave up to have it. Here's what happened in that past life. You believed the lie that you could only have one. That life demanded you split yourself and pick a side. Maybe society forced it. Maybe circumstances did. Maybe you forced it on yourself because you thought that's what responsible people do. But the truth is, you were never meant to choose between two halves of yourself. You were meant to integrate them. Jung spent years helping people understand this. The divided heart isn't healed by finally making the right choice. It's healed by rejecting the premise that you must choose at all, by finding the third option nobody told you existed, by building a life big enough to hold all of who you are. In this life, your birth year is calling you to stop splitting yourself, to stop believing that loving one thing means abandoning another, to understand that you can honor both your duty and your desire, your stability and your wildness, your logic and your intuition. The parts of you that seem to contradict each other aren't enemies, they're partners waiting to dance together. This terrifies you because it means risking everything. It means refusing to settle. It means telling people you won't shrink yourself to fit their either-or boxes. It means potentially losing those who can't accept your wholeness. But here's the secret. You already lost everything once by choosing incompletely. This time, you're here to risk everything by choosing completely. The divided heart must become whole, not by amputation, by integration. That's your only path forward. That's why this number chose you. 3. The sacred messenger. If your birth year reduces to 3, you carried a message in your past life that nobody wanted to hear. Jung identified 3 souls as the prophets, the truth-tellers, the ones who saw what was coming and tried to warn everyone. And they were ignored, mocked, punished, or killed for it. You died knowing you were right and that your warning could have saved people, but they wouldn't listen. 3 is the number of communication, of expression, of bridging worlds. You had access to knowledge others didn't. Maybe you were a mystic who saw visions, a healer who understood remedies before science proved them, an artist whose work was too ahead of its time, a teacher whose ideas threatened the established order. Whatever form it took, you spoke truth that made people uncomfortable, and they silenced you. Not always violently, though sometimes that too. Often they just dismissed you, called you crazy, laughed at your warnings, excluded you from conversations, made you feel insane for seeing what you saw, until you started doubting yourself, until you wondered if maybe they were right and you were wrong. That doubt killed you as much as anything else. This is why you struggle to speak up now. You have insights, ideas, things you know are true, but you swallow them. You stay quiet in meetings. You don't share your real thoughts. You watch people make mistakes you could prevent, but you say nothing. Because somewhere deep inside, you remember what happened last time you spoke your truth. The rejection, the isolation, the price you paid for being right too early. Jung noticed that 3 souls often attract situations where their voice is needed desperately. A family member making a terrible decision, a friend heading toward disaster, a workplace about to implode, and they see it coming. They know exactly what to say, but they freeze, or they speak so softly that nobody really hears. Or they speak and get the same reaction as before: dismissal, mockery, anger. The pattern is brutal. You're given the gift of sight and then traumatized into silence. It's like the universe blessed you and cursed you in the same breath. You can see the truth, but you can't make anyone believe it. So you carry this weight alone, watching everything unfold, exactly as you knew it would, powerless to stop it. But here's what you haven't understood yet. Your past life mission wasn't to make people listen. It was to speak, regardless of whether they listened. The message was never about them accepting it. It was about you honoring what you knew. You failed that test. You let their rejection silence you. You made their belief more important than your truth. Jung taught that 3 souls must learn a devastating lesson. You are not responsible for how people receive your message, only for delivering it. If you see a storm coming and you warn people and they ignore you and the storm destroys them, that's not your failure. Your failure is staying silent because you're afraid they won't listen. This life is giving you another chance. Your birth year called you back because the world needs messengers now more than ever. People who will speak uncomfortable truths, who will say what nobody wants to hear, who will deliver warnings even knowing they'll be rejected. Because some people will listen. Not everyone, maybe not most, but some. And here's what makes it worth it. The ones who listen are the ones meant to hear you. They're waiting for your voice. They need what you know. They're ready for the message you carry. But they'll never receive it if you stay silent to protect yourself from the ones who won't listen anyway. The sacred messenger must speak again. Not louder, not more forcefully. Just honestly, consistently, without attachment to outcome. Your job is to deliver the message. Their job is to choose what they do with it. Once you separate those responsibilities, the fear loses its power. You can finally say what you came here to say. And this time, you'll die knowing you honored your gift instead of hiding it. That's the only peace 3 souls ever find. 4, the silent builder. If your birth year reduces to 4, you built something magnificent in a past life and watched it crumble to dust. Jung saw that 4 souls are the architects, the creators of foundations, the ones who dedicated entire lifetimes to constructing something meant to last forever. A temple, a system, a legacy, a family dynasty, something solid, permanent, meant to outlive you. And it didn't. 4 is the number of structure, stability, the 4 corners that hold everything up. You weren't a dreamer, you were a doer. You didn't just imagine great things. You built them with your hands, your sweat, your entire life, stone by stone, year by year. You sacrificed everything for this creation, relationships, adventures, joy, because you believed the work mattered more. Then it fell. Maybe an earthquake destroyed your temple. Maybe invaders burned your city. Maybe your children squandered the empire you built. Maybe time simply eroded what you thought was permanent. However it happened, you died watching your life's work disappear. And the devastating realization hit you. Nothing lasts. Everything you built was temporary. All that sacrifice was for nothing. This trauma lives in you now. You're terrified of commitment, of building anything that matters. People think you're lazy or unmotivated, but that's not true. You're protecting yourself, because if you don't build, you can't watch it fall. If you don't create something you love, you can't lose it. So you half commit to everything. Jobs, relationships, projects. You keep one foot out the door, ready to leave before the collapse comes. Jung noticed 4 souls sabotage their own success. Right when things start working, they quit. They pick fights. They make careless mistakes. They walk away from opportunities. Because success means you built something. And building something means eventually watching it fall. Better to destroy it yourself than wait for the universe to do it. But here's what that past life didn't teach you. The building wasn't the point. The process was. The person you became while creating mattered more than the creation. Every stone you laid changed you. Every decision you made shaped your soul. The structure fell, but those changes stayed with you. They're still in you now. Your birth year brought you back to learn this. Build anyway, knowing it won't last, knowing everything is temporary. Build because the building itself is the purpose, not the permanence, not the legacy. The act of creating something with care, with dedication, with love. That's what transforms you. That's what's eternal. 4 souls must learn to love the temporary, to pour themselves into projects that will end, to commit fully to relationships that won't last forever, to build knowing that someday, somehow, it will all fall apart, and to find peace in that. Because nothing lasts, but everything matters. The silent builder must build again, not for legacy, but for love. 5. The restless seeker. If your birth year reduces to 5, you tasted freedom in a past life, and it killed you. Jung discovered that 5 souls are addicted to movement, to change, to the next experience. In your previous existence, you broke free from something that imprisoned you, maybe literal chains, maybe a suffocating marriage, a controlling family, a rigid society. You escaped, and that escape felt like being born. 5 is the number of freedom, adventure, constant motion. After you broke free, you ran, you explored, you experienced everything you'd been denied, new places, new people, new sensations. You became drunk on possibility. Finally, you could breathe. Finally, you were alive, and you swore you'd never be trapped again. But freedom without direction is just chaos. You ran so hard from captivity that you never stopped running. You couldn't, because stopping felt like going back to prison. So you kept moving, kept changing, kept seeking the next thrill. Until the running itself became your cage. You were free but never satisfied, always hungry for more, never able to rest. This is your pattern now. You can't stay still. New jobs every year, new cities, new relationships. You call it living fully, but really you're fleeing. Commitment feels like death. Routine feels like prison. Anyone who asks you to stay feels like a jailer. So you leave before they can trap you. You disappear before the walls close in. Jung saw that 5 souls attract chaos because stillness terrifies them. They create drama, emergencies, reasons to move. They pick partners who are unavailable or unstable. They choose careers with no security, because security feels like a trap. Stability feels like surrender. They'd rather have nothing than risk being confined by something. But here's the truth. You're not free. You're running. Real freedom isn't the absence of commitment. It's the ability to choose your commitments consciously and stay with them by choice, not force. The prison you escaped wasn't stability. It was control. And now you've confused the two. You think anything that asks you to stay is trying to control you, so you never let anyone or anything close enough to matter. Your birth year called you back to learn the difference, to understand that roots aren't chains, that home isn't a prison, that loving someone deeply doesn't mean losing yourself. You're here to discover that the ultimate freedom is choosing where you belong and staying there not because you have to, but because you want to. The restless seeker must finally find what's worth stopping for. 6. The healer's burden. If your birth year reduces to 6, you saved everyone but yourself in a past life. Jung identified 6 souls as the natural caregivers, the ones who devoted entire existences to healing others. You were a medicine woman, a priest who counseled the broken, a mother who raised everyone's children, a healer whose door never closed. People came to you with their pain, and you absorbed it. You fixed them, you gave everything you had, and you died empty, depleted, used up, because nobody ever asked if you needed healing. Nobody thought to care for the caregiver. You were so good at being strong for others that they forgot you were human too. They took and took until there was nothing left, and you let them, because saying no felt selfish, because their needs seemed more important than yours. This pattern controls your life now. You're the friend everyone calls during crisis, but nobody checks on during calm. The family member who solves every problem, but whose problems get ignored. The co-worker who stays late helping everyone while your own work suffers. You attract broken people like a lighthouse attracts ships, and you can't turn them away. Jung noticed that 6 souls physically feel other people's pain. Someone tells you their troubles and your chest tightens, your stomach hurts. You carry their emotions in your body. This isn't empathy. This is what happened before. You're remembering how you absorbed everyone's suffering until it poisoned you, until their pain became your pain, until you forgot where they ended and you began. People call you selfless, generous, kind, but you're not doing this from pure love. You're doing it from fear. Fear that if you stop giving, you'll lose your purpose. Fear that your worth depends on your usefulness. Fear that the moment you can't heal someone, they'll abandon you. So you give until you break. Then you give more. Here's what that past life taught you wrong. Sacrifice isn't noble when it destroys you. Helping others isn't virtue when you ignore yourself. You weren't meant to be an endless well that everyone drinks from. You were meant to be a river that flows through, giving what it can, while staying full from its own source. Your birth year brought you back to learn boundaries, to understand that no is a complete sentence, that taking care of yourself isn't selfish, that you can't heal anyone if you're broken. 6 souls must learn the hardest lesson. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is refuse to help, let people struggle, let them find their own strength. Stop carrying what isn't yours to carry. The healer's burden lifts only when you finally heal yourself first. When you give from overflow, not from depletion, when you understand that your worth isn't measured by how many people you save. You matter, even when you're not useful. That's what you came back to learn. 7. The mystic's return. If your birth year reduces to 7, you saw beyond the veil in a past life, and it cost you everything. Jung recognized 7 souls immediately. They're the ones who lived between worlds. The mystic in the cave, the oracle in the temple, the hermit who spoke to spirits. You had access to knowledge that ordinary people couldn't reach. You saw the patterns, you understood the mysteries, you touched something divine, and it isolated you completely, because nobody else could see what you saw. You tried to explain your visions, your revelations, your direct experience of the sacred, but words failed. Or worse, people thought you were insane. They feared you, worshipped you, used you, but nobody actually knew you. Nobody could. You lived in a reality they couldn't perceive, so you withdrew. You spent that entire life alone, with your visions, your practices, your connection to something beyond this world. You chose the mystical over the human, the spiritual over the physical. You believed you had to, that you couldn't have both, that being awake meant being separate, and you died alone, enlightened maybe, but completely disconnected from human love. This is why you feel so isolated now. Like you're watching life through glass. You're at parties but not present, in relationships but not connected. You understand things people don't, see meanings they miss. And it's lonely. So lonely. You want to belong. But belonging requires pretending you don't see what you see, and you can't unsee it. Jung saw that 7 souls often retreat into spirituality to avoid being human. They meditate for hours. They read esoteric texts. They chase enlightenment, not because they're truly seeking, because they're hiding. The spiritual path feels safer than the messy, painful, beautiful chaos of human connection. If you're focused on the divine, you don't have to risk your heart with people. But here's what you didn't learn before. The mystical and the mundane aren't separate. The sacred isn't somewhere else. It's here, in laughter, in touch, in boring conversations and simple meals. You don't have to choose between seeing clearly and loving fully. The highest truth isn't found alone on a mountain. It's found in the middle of life, with all its noise and mess and heartbreak. Your birth year called you back to bring heaven down to earth, to stop using your gifts as an escape, to understand that your visions mean nothing if they don't make you more human, not less. 7 souls must learn to live in both worlds at once, to see the sacred in the ordinary, to be mystical and messy, enlightened and flawed. Connected to everything, including the people right in front of you. The mystic's return isn't about ascending again. It's about finally landing. 8. The warrior's debt. If your birth year reduces to 8, you fought in a past life, and the war never ended inside you. Jung saw that 8 souls are warriors who carry an unpaid debt. You were a soldier, a fighter, someone who survived when others didn't. You made it through the battle. You came home. But you left pieces of yourself on that battlefield that you never recovered. 8 is the number of power and karma. You took lives. Maybe you had to. Maybe it was war, survival, duty. But those deaths marked you. You see their faces still in this life, in dreams you can't explain. You carry guilt that doesn't belong to any memory you have now, because the memory isn't in your mind, it's in your soul. This is why you're so driven now, why you push yourself relentlessly, why rest feels like weakness. You're trying to earn something, to prove you deserved to survive when they didn't. Every achievement is an apology to the dead. Every success is payment on a debt you can't name, but it's never enough. You can't work hard enough to erase what happened. Jung noticed 8 souls are terrified of their own power. They know what they're capable of, what they did before. So they either avoid power completely or they abuse it, repeating the pattern. They become bullies or victims, controllers or controlled. Because balanced power feels impossible. They don't trust themselves with it. Your birth year brought you back to make peace with the warrior inside you, to understand that strength isn't violence, that power isn't destruction, that you can be fierce without being cruel. The debt is paid, the war is over. You're allowed to lay down your weapons and rest. 9. The soul's final lesson. If your birth year reduces to 9, this might be your last time here. Jung believed 9 souls are finishing something ancient. You've lived many lives, learned hard lessons, carried every burden. 9 is completion, the end of the cycle. You're not here to begin something new. You're here to end something old. You feel it, the exhaustion that sleep doesn't touch, the sense that you've done this all before, too many times. Nothing surprises you. Nothing shocks you. You've seen it all in different forms, different centuries, different faces, and you're tired, so tired of the wheel spinning. 9 souls came back for one final release, to forgive the unforgivable, to let go of the last attachment, to finish what every other life couldn't complete. You know what it is, that one thing you keep avoiding, that person you can't forgive, that pain you won't release. That's why you're here. One last time. Jung understood that 9 souls often resist their purpose because completing it means this ends, and ending feels like death even though it's liberation. You're holding on to the pain because at least it's familiar, at least it gives you identity. Who are you without your wounds, without your story, without the karma you've carried for lifetimes? You're free. That's who you are. Your birth year called you back for graduation. To finally learn that you don't need to keep suffering to prove you're learning. The lesson is over. You passed. You can go home now, not to another life, to whatever comes after all the lives end. The soul's final lesson is simple. Let go of everything. Every grudge, every fear, every attachment, not because you have to, because you finally can. This is your last chance. Don't waste it holding on to what no longer serves you. Finish this. Be free. The 9 knows how. You've always known. Now you just have to do it. Your birth year was never just a number on a calendar. It was a cosmic appointment, a contract your soul signed before you took your first breath. Jung spent his lifetime proving that we are not accidents wandering through random existence. We are ancient beings, returning with unfinished business, carrying codes in the very fabric of our arrival. The number you calculated isn't a prediction or a personality test. It's a mirror reflecting who you've always been, across time, across lives, across the vast mystery of existence itself. And now you know. Now you've seen the pattern. The question isn't whether you believe this is real. The question is, what will you do with this knowledge? Will you keep repeating the same cycles, dying with the same regrets, running from the same lessons? Or will you finally break the pattern? Your ancestors are watching. Your future selves are waiting. The code has been cracked. The secret is out, and the only person who can free you from the wheel of returning lives is staring back at you in the mirror. This moment, right now, is why you were born when you were born. Don't waste it.